And here we go with the first episode of What the Puck. And joining me is Puck. So I asked how he wanted to get this started, and he's like, Ethan, people have heard bits and pieces of your deconversion story, but they've never heard your entire story of how you became an atheist. So, Puck, how do you want to do this?
Okay, well, when I think about atheists, when I say new atheists, I don't mean like this new trend going on about new atheists, whatever that means.
Right.
I mean an atheist that just recently came out, or at least recently came out publicly, and like you, right. your activism is fairly new, right? Correct. Like your first atheism video was about a month ago. Yeah. So that's what I say. That's what I mean when I say new atheist, just to clarify that. But a lot of times a new atheist will feel like they've lost their community, right? They don't have their church anymore and the friends that they had there. They're looking for people to understand them. And one great way to find other people who understand them is to listen to the deconversion stories of other people.
Right.
Right. And we've heard a little bit of yours. If somebody would have to watch at least 10 hours of video to and just like
and then put those pieces together, right?
Right. But you know what? This is your channel. This is your show. So let's actually hear the whole story. And everybody's story starts out a different place. But I guess where I would probably want to start with you is like before you came out as atheist. What was your story from there?
Sure. So I was raised a Christian, although by most standards, I guess I wasn't a true Christian. We didn't go to church every week, but we were a very conservative Christian family. It was always a belief in God, a belief. My mom was an avid believer in the supernatural. By the way, hi Casper, hi Erica, thanks for tuning in. So, and my mom has plenty of stories that I think she witnessed. And so I was always very much a believer in God, in all things supernatural. I believed in angels. I believed in psychics. I believed in it all. So to go back a little bit, I went to Catholic school, 6th through 8th grade. And to be clear, many people will say, oh, I know why you became an atheist, because you went to a Catholic school. And no, that's not true. Honestly, my Catholic school experience was phenomenal. It literally was my favorite school throughout my entire life. And a lot of that has to do with Sister D, the principal. I mean, and some of my friends. Sister D was a sweetheart of a lady. Now, I personally have always been a edgy person. Like, I just liked saying things to get a rise out of people. So when I was in 6th grade, I heard the term atheist. Now, to be clear, I couldn't comprehend what an atheist was, but I wanted to get a rise out of people. So I told my buddy, I'm like, yeah, I'm an atheist. And he's like, he's like, stop, do not say that. You're in Catholic school, man. They will kick you out. And I was like, they're not going to do anything. Next thing I know, I'm getting called down to the principal's office, and I am like, oh, my parents, they are going to kill me if I get kicked out. This is horrible. So Sister D sits me down. She's like, how you doing? And I'm like, I'm doing good. And she's like, so what did you say in class? And I was like, nothing, Sister D. I didn't say anything. She's like, come on. What did you say? And I was like, I said I was an atheist. And she's like, I'm sorry. I'm like, I said I was an atheist. And she's like, so you don't believe in God? And I was like, I don't know. And she's like, so you are an atheist? And I was like, and again, I didn't know what that meant. I was just saying it. So she's like, do you understand what that means? And I was
okay,
like,
just really quick, just for reference, yeah. You were about 11, 12 years old at this time?
Yeah, I was 11 or 12 years old. Okay. So, a couple things go back and forth, and she's like, okay, you can go back to class. And I literally, this was like, if there was a camera in the crowd, I looked to the camera like, what? And I was like, I'm sorry, Sister D, what? She's like, you can go back to class. I'm like, I'm not getting kicked out of school? She's like, no, you're not getting kicked out of school. Go back to class. My parents never found out, which I'm glad. anyways, time passes and I just forget the whole atheist thing because it was ridiculous and I believed in God at that point. So fast forward, when I was about 19, I became more interested in religion. At this time, I first heard the term agnostic and Gnostic. So I was convinced I was a Gnostic, not agnostic, but Gnostic, Gnostic Christian, which means you know there is a God. So, and as time went on, I'm like, okay, I can't consider myself a traditional Christian, but I still know there's a God. And I commonly use those arguments that frustrate me today. I'll be like, oh, well, what? So you just believe nothing came from nothing? That makes no sense. Like those words would come out of my mouth. I would ridicule atheists. And so I guess you could say my search for the truth has always been there. And I continued, and it's funny. While I was a Christian, I argued adamantly against an atheist friend of mine. And I was like, now to be clear, he was not a very kind atheist. He was a dick. And now he's a Christian and he's an even bigger dick. Like he's just not a nice person. Yeah. And now I'm the atheist. And ironically, I don't want to, okay, he doesn't want to talk to me anymore. Let's say that. He's blocked me. He said I'm too negative, which I'd like to think I'm a pretty positive person. But anyway, so most of my life, I was a theist and a Christian. Let's go to about five years ago.
Okay, can I just really quickly? Okay, so you said you went to a Catholic school, right?
Yeah, I was not a Catholic.
But your denomination was not Catholic. Okay,
that's correct.
So I just wanted. And then when did you? At what age did you stop going to a Catholic school? Did you go to a Christian school from there, or a public school, or?
So I went to a public school, which was a big shock. And again, when I started in that public school, I was completely miserable. I missed my Catholic friends. Like they were just. I had such a great time in that school. It was the first time where I actually felt like I was part of a group, because until 6th grade, I was picked on. And then once I was in 6th grade at this Catholic school, I was no longer this dork. So when I got to Romeoville High School, it was like starting over again. And every day I was literally miserable until sophomore year when I met my best friend. After that, a lot changed. I met Fitz, I met Brian Laushin, and life and school just drastically improved. But yeah, no, so I was in a public school. Catholic school was just 6th through 8th grade. Still one of the greatest experiences of my life. I met all my great friends there. And yes, Casper, I am still a dork now.
Okay, so this is interesting. Like we're still working on this whole what the fuck thing. Like we're still figuring out how this works. Do you want to handle questions like as they come up? Because sometimes that's probably the most. But do you want to save them, like aggregate them until the very end and save a Q&A session?
That's a good question. So I'll say let's address the questions at the end, unless I see one that piques my eye. I'll try to answer it right away.
The one that got to me was Jocelyn was asking if it's a Jesuit school. And that would be, that might go a ways into explaining, into filling in some details here. So just out of curiosity, was the Catholic school you went to Jesuit? Okay.
No, it was not. And then D-Man Jones, wow, this is almost exactly what happened to me, except it was a public school, and it was the FCA sponsor that gave me the talking to.
And for the guy who doesn't know, what does FCA mean?
Honestly, I have no idea.
D-Man, if you could let us know. I'd love to know what that means. So.
Yeah, that'd be great. It's going to eat at Puck until you answer this question. He likes doing his research.
It will, and I'm gonna. I'm taking notes on this already. So it's like I'm gonna look up anything that you guys are asking about here. Like Jocelyn, you asked about the Gnostic Gospels. If they're what I think you're talking about, yes, I have read them.
Okay.
Then we can follow up with that. But yeah, we'll see. We can aggregate them till the end.
Sure.
If you guys could add Ethan or add your friendly neighborhood atheist so that we can more easily find it at the end. I don't know how you see it.
And if you can, like and subscribe to your friendly neighborhood atheist on YouTube. So back to the story.
Yes. We're 9. You're 9. No, this was 5 years ago. You said.
Yeah. And I've always been fascinated by religion, in the sense that I never got. Even when I was a Christian, the whole singing and praising, it didn't make sense to me. it was very confusing because to me, I don't necessarily believe anybody, any person, any God. I don't think they deserve worship. Like if a God exists and if he is our parent, so to speak, what parent needs to be worshipped? You know what I mean? Like for what reason, what cause? But anyways, let me get back to the story. Sorry. So it started with me. I was very conservative, very right-wing Republican. And eventually one day I was like, okay, half the US is liberal, half the US is conservative. Clearly, if I'm this conservative, my position, if there's this many people who disagree with me, clearly I must be missing something. So I need to figure out what information I'm missing. So it started with me listening to the Young Turks. And I wouldn't say they're necessarily credible or reliable by any means, but starting with them, I started hearing the liberal position and started better understanding it. And from there, I struggled. I found the atheist experience. And this guy, Matt Dillahunty's on there, and I'm listening to him, and I'm like, this guy is such a dick. I'm like, the way this atheist talks to people, I'm like, this guy's a jerk. He's arguing over words. What is he doing? But I kept listening. I don't know why, but I was definitely like intrigued because a lot of what he was saying made sense. Even though he was being a jerk, I'm just absorbing everything he's saying. And one day I heard him say, what do you believe? Why do you believe it? And if you can't substantiate that belief with evidence, then you shouldn't believe it. And it was almost like, that little seed I needed. Just that little bit of, well, wait a second. I've accepted all these things based on faith. Do I actually, truly have a good reason to believe in God? Now, to be clear, I'm not saying other people don't have a good reason to believe in God. I'm just saying I didn't have a good reason to believe in God. I just want to be very clear. I don't want to offend or upset anybody. I respect everyone's right to believe what they want as long as your beliefs don't infringe on the rights of other human beings. That's when I get pissed off.
Can we get a clarification? Here we go. We got Jocelyn asking really quickly what right-wing Republican means to you, because you did use that phrase, so if we can get some clarification.
Okay. I grew up reading the Rush Limbaugh letter. I started at 12 years old, and I read the Limbaugh letter every month, and I regurgitated everything Rush Limbaugh had to say in my social studies class with my Democratic teacher. And I would drive people nuts because I would go on tangents and I would rant. So I guess I like that. Sorry guys, I didn't mean to stop this. Matt came for your soul, Ethan. Subscribe to you from listening to AXP. That's awesome, man. Thank you. I'm sorry, man or woman, I don't know, but that's awesome. Thank you. I'm glad you came on. And for those who don't know, I'm literally, one of my dreams is like coming true. One of the hosts from the Atheist Experience is going to be on my show next Wednesday at 5 p.m. Central. Not even joking. And Puck, I have you to thank for that. You were the one that said, hey, I kind of know her. Let me say something. Put this in the subject. And I put it in the subject, and she wrote back. So I am actually interviewing someone from the show that helped turn me into an atheist. Like, that's just remarkable. As you can see, I'm gleaming with excitement.
Man, you cannot be saying this kind of stuff to them, all right? Their egos are already swelled. They don't need any more ego stoking.
All right.
They actually say that when they were talking about call screening and what they don't allow. And Vern, nicest guy ever, actually said that one of the types of calls we do not allow is the ones who just want to call and say, "Hey, I think you hosts are doing a great job." Not that the hosts, they love their ego stroked and all that.
Because
and
honestly,
that's good because they're doing a great job. But
people listen for the conversation.
Yeah.
So.
So
Anyways,
I'm glad that we got that worked out for you. That'll be a good
too.
show.
So thank you, Puck. Moving on. I totally lost my train of thought. Where was I?
You were talking about how seeds were planted and suddenly you realized you personally had no good reason to believe.
So it started with thinking, okay, and I remember specifically an argument that I would use, and it was the atheists believe nothing came from nothing, because without how could it get there without something? So that was my argument. And that just fell apart. It just literally was like, I am extremely hard on my own intelligence. Like, I will regularly say I'm a dumbass. And a lot of that has to do with two things. I've had ADHD my whole life. And the way it works for me is I struggle to focus on reading. So as I'm reading, it sounds like there's a bomb going off in my head. Like there's literal screaming, and I have to just sit there and read it over and over again. And when I was younger, I mean, they didn't know what ADHD was. So they put me into a reading test, and I read like 3 years below my grade level. And they basically said I was dumb. So I didn't know it was ADHD. It was just unheard of. So since then, I have been tremendously difficult on my own intelligence. And my friend made an important made an important point the other day. She said, it's not your intelligence that's bad. Your critical thinking skills are intact. You know how to use your brain. What you're lacking is knowledge. And that's so true. And it's something where it's like, it does bother me. It's an insecurity of mine because, like, Puck, you and me will go back and forth in an IM conversation, or even, my friend Larry will go back and forth, and it takes me twice as long to delve into a deep conversation versus just talking. Anyways, I went off topic again. That's ADHD, man. It's just all over the place. So
that's why you have me. If you went too far off the rails, I would have steered you back.
Okay, so
we're still going back to 5 years ago. You had no
right,
and you were talking about nothing from nothing. So what made you think of nothing comes from nothing in a different way?
It was literally they pointed out how that argument doesn't equate there being a God. It's simply saying, I don't know, therefore God is dishonest. And therefore your answer should stop at, I don't know. And to me, I don't know is completely underrated. And yet it is one of the most intellectually honest things you can say. There is nothing wrong with standing up and saying, I don't know. And that's the thing. As an atheist, I agnostic atheist, I don't know, man. I can't tell you there's no God. I can't tell you there is a God. I just find it unlikely, but I am open to being convinced. So it started with him pointing out the fallacious reasoning. And to anyone watching, I think one of the most important things people can learn is logical fallacies. The reason that is you will learn and find yourself using these arguments in your everyday life. And when you realize how bad they are in every aspect, it does you so much good. It eradicates all the false things from your brain. And now how I analyze data is I take it and I put it in a courtroom. If it doesn't stand up in court, then I don't believe it. And I think if you do that with everything, which is what I have done, it will do you a tremendous, tremendous benefit. So it did start with me challenging my own beliefs, and it began with God. Do I have a good reason to believe in God? And I didn't. I just believed it because. And slowly from there, it began moving forward. I thought about ghosts and angels because it wasn't all at once. It was over time. And many, many things I cannot explain. And I'm going to relate this to a personal life experience to which I, to this day, still cannot explain. But the thing to remember is just because you can't explain it doesn't mean the answer is God, or doesn't mean the answer is something else. It just means at this time, I can't explain it, so I don't know. And one of these things that actually still keeps my mind going is, I used to DJ and MC regularly, and I am very confident in my onstage ability. I would say I'm not the best DJ, but I am one of the best MCs. Like when I get on stage, it's like this light switch turns and I just become this, my energy just like goes through the roof. I become so excited. And I have this ability to know what the crowd wants, know what to say, how to say it, how long, the importance. And the guy who trained me said, he talked about it as a cloud you can see in the air, a cloud of energy. Now, I've never seen a cloud of energy, but I can feel that energy. And this is one of those things to this day, I can't explain. And I would always say, well, I can't explain this, therefore there must be something out there, rather than therefore there just must be an explanation that I don't understand yet. And it's just crazy, the different person I've become. I was a dickhead, man.
Hold on just a second, because I want to get to dickhead. I really want to sing into that. But Jocelyn, you say we need to talk about. Can you think of like take your time and come up with a good way to phrase like whatever you want to ask, because we got at least half an hour more here, and it sounds like you really want to say something, and I really want to see what that is that you want to say. When you say we need to talk, I'm guessing you mean Ethan and not me. But you say down there, we need to talk. So curious about the court example. So if you could flesh that out a little bit, because I think you're onto something and I want to see what it is.
Great. And D-Man Jones, yeah, ADHD sucks, man. But here's what I always say. It is also my superpower, because if I didn't have ADHD, I wouldn't be doing this show right now. If I didn't have ADHD, I wouldn't have started these like five nights a week streams. Like this is what, I don't know. My ADHD is, as much as it's a downfall, it is absolutely my superpower. So, and that's why I don't treat it like, yeah, it would have benefits, but for me, the downfall outweighs the cons outweigh the pros. But to be clear, there are many people who do need to get medicated. I'm not advising anyone come off their medication. I'm only speaking from my firsthand account. Okay, so
okay, so you talked about how it was like a slow, steady process of you questioning one belief at a time, right, eventually getting to where you are now. There are probably thousands, if not millions, of people who have come to this conclusion, and that's fine. A lot of them don't take a step that you have and gone public with it and turned it into activism, right? So there's becoming atheist, realizing that you're atheist, and then there's doing what you've chosen to do about it. So what bridges that gap?
Sure.
There?
So I was always, one of the best things my mom and dad taught me was always, no matter the circumstances, stand up for what you believe in. And that goes to anything. If someone's being bullied, if there's something you don't agree with, if you are one out of the 50 people in the room that doesn't agree, you still stand up and you say, I don't agree. And that is the greatest life lesson my parents taught me, because not just with atheism, but everything. Like, I am incredibly proud of the fact that I'm not one of those people who sees someone getting harmed or in danger and just says it's not my place and keeps walking. Like, literally the first night I DJ'd, I got beaten up by 5 dudes for defending a woman. And it's like, but that doesn't sway me. The need to stand up for what you believe in has always been here. It just changed in the fact that I became an atheist. So, and it's not that I want everyone to become atheists. Cool, that'd be nice. But I want everyone to be happy first and foremost. But I really want everyone to just believe, not just myself, but everybody to believe as many true things as possible and get rid of as many of the false beliefs in their head. And to me, I guess, and I feel like when I talk about this, it doesn't make sense to anyone else. But atheism, in so many ways, while it's such a simple belief and it only refers to the lack of belief, it had a tremendous impact on my life. It essentially gave me the critical thinking tools I need to apply. I needed to apply to my brain in every aspect of my life. And it made me a better human being, a human being I can look in the mirror and be proud of. I'm not saying I haven't done bad things. I'm not saying I don't do bad things, but I can empathize or sympathize with almost anybody in any situation. If you ask me to argue on behalf of someone, I'm sure I will find a way to argue it. You know, becoming an atheist, I gave up. I became pro-choice. I am against now capital punishment. I used to be for capital punishment, and now I'm like, this doesn't make sense to me. As a Christian, I was for people being put to death, but as an atheist, I'm totally against it. Like, to me, life is the most precious thing, and it should be valued above all else. And I'm doing my ADHD rants again.
No, that's good because there's like three different places I want to go, and that's not a bad thing. Like the most recent one that you came up with is like, you know, a lot of these things have changed. It's like, okay, you said, you know, that you used to defend among other things. You said death penalty.
Right.
You said you're pro-life and that thing, but you said that they made sense to you in the past. Now, if you had to steel man that position, if you had to say this is why it would have been convincing to someone else, would you still be able to do that?
Oh, sorry. So if I'm understanding you correctly, are there arguments I could still use to justify someone believing in God and understand it?
Not just God, but some of the more social issues.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So, and I think that's why many times people think I am automatic. I'm just a liberal because I argue more adamantly against, you know, the right. But here's the thing: I think they both suck equally.
Yeah, the left has it. So yeah, okay.
Right. Like I draw no distinction. I think the right sucks for their own reasons. I think the left sucks for their own reasons. But I find I argue with the right more because I hear the things that come out of their mouth, and I'm like, you're not getting it. You're not getting it. There's this piece of the brain right here that needs to get just turned on the way it got turned on for me. And it's like, I think the best way to describe it and why is atheism unlocked my compassion, my love for life, my appreciation for other people. Now, you know, when somebody is out of work, I don't automatically say, oh, they're lazy. They did it to themselves. If someone goes to jail, I don't say, well, they shouldn't have committed that crime. Now I'm like, wait a second. What happened? What led them down that direction? Did they have the upbringing I have? Were they taught the same way? Did they have the schooling I had? Like, I can now actually try and understand everyone's side. So in so many ways, I look at as atheism as a tool that led to my critical thinking skills that just made me a better human being.
Okay, let's put that critical thinking in the test before you get into the because and we go down like 6 other different No, that's fine. We're here to ask the tough stuff, right? And we're here to challenge and I from hearing what you're saying, you like it when someone goes in and challenges you a little bit and says,
absolutely,
why do you actually think this, right?
Yes.
Now, there are a number of people who would go with the philosophy that someone who does not believe in God, and then by extension that man is created in the image of God and has a higher inherent value because of their likeness of God, they would say that that's what gives humans their value. Now, what you're saying is the opposite, that when you became atheist and when you dropped that belief in God, that's when humans seem to be more valuable to you. So
not just humans.
Okay.
Let me give you an example. Probably about 6 to 7 weeks ago, I was driving and I'm on the expressway, and on the side of the road, I see a large bird flailing and like obviously dying. Now, I still feel guilty because I don't believe I acted fast enough. And sure, people could say that's ridiculous, but I look back and was like, wait a second. All I did was call. Why didn't I pull over? Why didn't I grab that animal? Why didn't I bring him or her to the vet myself? And that's the thing. Beforehand, I didn't care. Now I just have this like tremendous value for human life. Like, I guess you could say, if you asked me 10 years ago version would call me a hippie or a tree hugger. But I get it now. Like, I want everyone to be happy, and in every single way. And that's why, like, a lot of times people are like, you really make yourself look stupid on Facebook. And I'm like, I don't care, man.
Yeah,
I'm like,
we all saw the sliding into the DMs video.
If you haven't, go on my Facebook. Yesterday, there's a video of I was trying to make a joke on how to slide.
Fast, Ethan, we have a lot to talk about.
I'll make it quick. Of how to slide into a girl's DMs. And while I was trying to actually physically slide and record it, I slipped and fell. So that's the kind of, literally, that's the kind of stuff I do. So anyways, back to the question, Puck, sorry. That was a perfect time for a what the puck?
That was a good what the puck moment. That was a perfect what the puck moment. I love the questions that are coming in. So it's like I want to make sure that this does not last any longer than about another 20 minutes, because these are great questions and I definitely want to get some. Larry,
is the first
that was
time?
A beautiful question right there, Larry. I definitely want to get to that. But anyway, the question was about if now that you don't have that theistic idea of human value coming from their being created in life, where is it coming from? Like what made you think of people and animals and other things? What made you want to have compassion for them, if not driven by some sort of divine idea? Where's it from?
So, okay, if I may, I'm going to answer what I think Larry was going to answer with. He'd either say that's Jesus or God. Which I'll wait for him to say that in the comments. But
hashtag WTP.
Honestly,
let's this, guys.
it's really hard to say, because I don't know. You know what? Okay. I guess let's backtrack a little bit. This is going to bring in something a little more personal, which I touched base on Monday. We're going to talk about the death of my brother. I'm just going to summarize it real quick, because that also goes into what happened to me. And unfortunately, and I'm going to go into a personal pet peeve for just a moment. There is someone in my family that is like, the only reason you're an atheist is because you lost your brother. You're angry. And that actually frustrates me so much, because it's like, you're equating the past 5 years of my life, all the work I put in to getting to where I'm at, to nothing more than anger. It's like, no, I'm not angry. Look at me. Do I look angry? Like, so I just, anyways, 2011 Thanksgiving, my brother died. We found out, if you want the full story, go to my YouTube and look at Dealing with Death. But we found out on Thanksgiving my brother died. I found out via Facebook, which was great. That sent me into a depression, which in turn triggered a slew of medical problems. So starting with the antidepressants, then my stomach got worse, and I got on some stomach medication. Then I'm DJing one night, and next thing I know, I wake up in an ambulance. I had a seizure. Never had a seizure before in my life. So I got prescribed Keppra, then that got doubled, then it got tripled, then I got put on oxycarbazepine, then I got put on lamotrigine, and just not more and more meds. Then my stomach was getting more messed up. So this could probably be a whole nother video, but needless to say, I gained so much weight. I was unhealthy. I was miserable. And I pulled myself out of that. I pulled myself out of what felt like the depths of hell. I got off all that medication, just use medical marijuana now, and I became happy. And one of the things that helped me let go of and move on from my brother dying was the fact that I accepted I'm never going to see my brother again. And I'm okay with that now, because you know what? I had 21 amazing years with one of two of the best brothers on the planet. I have two amazing brothers, and I got 21 great years with an amazing, amazing human being. He was a special forces medic. He not only skipped 2 grades, he graduated early. I mean, just a remarkable human being. And losing him sucked, but becoming an atheist and turning on those critical thinking skills and no longer believing in the afterlife just gave me such clarity. Now, to be clear, becoming an atheist is a head trip. And I've seen people far worse off than I was, because you grieve the death of a loved one more than once, because at first you grieve their death, but then you accept, you're going to see them in the afterlife. But then when you become an atheist, you have to accept that you're never going to see them again. So it's literally like feeling that loss again. But after that came this just tremendous sense of clarity, of happiness, of like, what am I doing? I've got so much to live for. Like, I had such a great time with my brother. I have so much to be grateful for. I'm not going to sit in the pits of darkness anymore. So it's when I see other people who used to think like I think, that's where I get frustrated, because I understand where they're coming from, but I feel like I just need to give them, like, take that little toppling block away. Because once we take that foundation, just a piece of that foundation away, the rest will crack. And I want to point to like my friend Erica here. She is like the happiest go lucky person I know. And it's like, dude, if we were all like that, our lives would be so much better. But and you too, Kim. You're a happy-go-lucky person.
So just to try to get this like 30 seconds back to the original question, was your source of compassion. Could you tie that up in a pretty little bow for us?
I'm sorry.
No,
I am frustrating Mr. Puck because I
get it. I get it, because I mean, these are big questions, and usually big questions have a lot of like backstory. And the entire theme of tonight's What the Puck is your backstory, right? So there's no way to answer a question like, where do you find your source of compassion coming from now, without having to go into a lot of things. So we're getting so many great questions in chat. I love this chat right now.
We will get to those questions in just a few minutes. That's because I have a lot of awesome friends. And if that's one thing I've learned doing this, is I have so many incredibly supportive friends who are there for me in many ways. However, I have to give the most credit to Fitz. Been my best friend for a long time, and he's always been there no matter what. Anyways, what the source of my compassion is, I don't know, Puck. Okay. I don't know. I feel like as a kid, I was this person, and I was this happy-go-lucky, because my grandma always says whenever she tried to get me to take things seriously, I would just reply with, I want to play. And she's like, and that's still how you are, Brandon. You want life to be fun. You're only going to take certain things seriously, and everything else you're going to let go. And I don't know. I maybe my brain's wired that way. My mom, which I don't know if I believe this, my mom says, unlike most babies, I didn't come out crying. I came out humming and smiling. Now, granted, I'm willing to accept that she could have been hung up in the moment, but to this day, she tells the story that same way, that I came out happy and smiling. So I don't know. Maybe I'd lost it along the way. You know what? Here, I was an atheist when I was born, because we're all atheists. So
you know what? That was one of the points that I have down. You can't see it. It says, okay, let's talk about lack of belief. We'll get there eventually. Okay. I did want to address really quickly something that Jocelyn just said in chat, and I want to make sure that to make sure we get this, that there are a lot of atheistic positions that actually do also believe in an afterlife. Atheism and afterlife are not strict. They're not strictly in conflict.
I'm glad she pointed that out. I'm glad Jocelyn pointed that out. By the way, Larry's source of compassion equals God. Maybe, absolutely, it is possible. I've told you that before, Larry. So yeah, I should have clarified that becoming an atheist only refers to a lack of belief in God. It doesn't refer to whether you believe in souls or ghosts or anything like that. But it started with those critical thinking skills that got me the rest of the way, and not believing in the afterlife, not believing in magic, not believing in psychics. I mean, I believe psychics exist. I'm just not sure what they're doing.
Yeah, I thought that was something that you had posted, right? You were curious about psychics and mediums and whatnot.
Yeah, because
I have my own theories about that. This is not the time or place, and I would need a long time to structure an argument. But
no, Kim, you're amazing.
So I want to get back to this also, because you said something that I think you said your mom had told you that if you're the one person. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, just real quick. Dawn, are you sure that God did not get you this far in your life? No. And that's what I'm saying. I'm not sure. If you hear anything, hear me say this. I do not know whether there is a God or not. So it is entirely possible that he is responsible for everything. But until the time that a God is demonstrated to exist, I remain unconvinced. Puck, go ahead. I apologize.
Okay. So one thing that you had said before was that I think you said your mom had told you if you're the one person out of 50 who disagrees with something that you should stand up.
Yes.
And say something. Now, usually parents are fine with you doing this until they are the ones you are disagreeing with. So how does the rest of your family, and you said they put you in a Catholic school, right? So
yes.
There is some connection to your family and church. How did they handle all this?
Larry, I'll explain in a minute. You misunderstood me, but okay. How do they explain, or how do they feel?
How do they feel about you coming out as atheist and then being such an activist today?
So here's what I'd like to believe, and then I can only tell you what my mom said. I'd like to believe that my mom is very happy for me and very proud of me for where I'm at. Not saying she's proud of me my entire life, because I've done some bad things. I just mean proud of me in this moment that I'm doing something that makes me very happy. However, she doesn't understand. She was that person that said you only became an atheist. First, she said it because your grandpa died, and then because your brother died, and that bothers me, because it's literally taking the tremendous work, the fight I've had in my own brain to get so far, and then to just say, well, you're only an atheist because of this little thing. Like, no. Not that Brent dying was a little thing, it was a huge thing, but no, this took tremendous work to get to where I'm at. So my mom watches my stuff, so I know she's supportive. There's times she turns it off because she doesn't agree with me politically. Well, she doesn't agree with me religiously either. But I think they're okay with it. But my mom does not approve that I'm an atheist. She absolutely believes I'll be a Christian again, and she absolutely uses the same arguments I used to use against me, and then thinks I haven't heard them before. So I'm fortunate. There are many atheists out there who do not have the support of their family. There are atheists that lose their homes. There are atheists that lose their jobs. There are plenty of atheists out there that aren't as fortunate as I am. So I'd like to think they're supportive. I know for a fact my grandma is. She doesn't agree with me, but my grandma has always been, I feel like no matter how much I screw up and how much I've done, she's always like, it's okay, Brandon. I know you mean good. Like, my grandma's just such a supportive and loving person, no matter how much of a dick or bad person I've been. So I would like to think my grandma is also supportive of me right now.
Okay,
does that answer your question?
It does, and that's great, and I appreciate you being, so willing to talk about all this stuff. It's not easy for a lot of people, so to have the courage that you do to sit there and just be under fire and to answer very difficult questions about family and your history, I think it's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Like I've never done that, and so that's pretty awesome that you did. I do want to ask one last question to tie this up in a bow, and then there's so many great questions here. We could spend like 20 minutes on each question.
Well,
right?
let's definitely get to that.
We're not going to, because I have to work early in the morning, and I'm guessing you do too, right?
Yes.
You're okay. But one common theme that I've heard you talk about since the very beginning here is the idea of an atheist straw man, right? Like you heard when you were younger, it's like, oh, atheists believe this, or like one of the things you said was nothing from nothing, and atheists are what. And now, to be fair, a lot of insular groups do this. Okay, you listen to AXP enough and watched enough of AXP to know that if you look in the comments, there's going to be people there who straw man theists, right?
Absolutely.
There's going to be that group, that small group of people in any group,
right?
So if you were going to try to bridge a gap and try to take, like, what atheist straw man do you think is the most harmful for trying to bridge the gap between believers and atheists? What would you like them to know about you that they've believed all their life, but it's just not true?
Sorry, can you, so everyone understands, can you explain what a straw man is?
Okay, a straw man. Wow. Okay. Yeah, you were just talking about logical fallacies. And
I know. I'm sorry. I know what it is, but let's not assume everybody knows what it is.
Right. Okay. So the idea of a straw man is that you represent an opposing opinion in such a flimsy and inaccurate way that it's very easy to discredit it and to discount it. And if you are in an insular enough group, if you're in a closed off enough group, this might be all you know about that group of people.
Right.
And it starts to be an echo chamber, and it starts to become how you identify them. So if you're in a very closed, for example, Christian group, and the only thing you hear about atheists is, oh, they just want to not believe in God so they can sin all they want.
Correct.
To. That could be one potential one, right? Or atheists are just angry at God. Right. Is another one. And to be fair, again, this happens on the other side.
Yeah,
okay,
absolutely.
Because you have a lot of atheists who say, it's just wishful thinking, right, or it's just a delusion on their part. So it happens on both sides. I'm not singling out one. I'm asking you about this because you are on the atheist side now.
Okay,
and
so
I want to know what you think theists should know about it, or should stop believing about atheists.
Okay, so what's the most important thing? Well, I'd say stop saying we believe in nothing. It's so, would it be disingenuous? It's just, here's the thing. Me and Christians have everything in common except the lack of belief in God. Me and Muslims have everything in common except a lot in common except the lack of belief in God. So we believe in many of the same things. We're your next door neighbors. We're your husbands, your wives. We're everywhere. And many of them, I mean, there are people who've reached out to me and been like, yeah, I can't come out to my family because I'll lose them. And it's like, that's just so very sad, but I'm getting off topic again. Fuck. I'm driving. What the you got to say it more.
This is the wrap. This is the wrap it up portion here, right?
Right.
So tie it into close the circle.
Just stop saying we believe in nothing. That's not true. We believe in so many of the same things. We just lack the belief in a God or God. That's it. So we're the same people as you are. And on the flip side, I thought you were going somewhere else with this question, but I thought I'm going to have to call out other atheists here, because there is a position that to me is one of the most irrational positions on the planet. And I have been ridiculed by atheists for this. And I'm going to say it right now, a hard atheist. Ones who say there is no God. Like, I'm sorry. That is so dishonest. Can you prove there's no God? Have you tested that there's no God? No. So don't say it. And those guys, they'll sit there and they'll ridicule Christians for believing in a God and demand evidence from them. But then they'll say, no, there is no God, and not demand evidence of themselves. And that is the most irrational position, in my opinion. I hope you're not a hard atheist, Puck, because if so, then I just said you were irrational.
Nah, digging into my own personal views. This is a topic for another What the Puck.
Oh, no.
But no, that is what I'm going to do, because we are 50 minutes into this. It was 50 great minutes, and I very much appreciate it. But the hour she is up, and it's time for me to get to my next interview. No, I'm kidding. I don't have a next interview. But we do have so many great questions.
Right, that's what we
got. I think it would be a disservice to not address as many of these as we can. Now, if there are questions that we just plain missed, You can get a hold of either of us. Just leave a message on Ethan's Facebook or leave it in the YouTube comments. I see just as many as he does. So if you have a question for me specifically, I'll do my best to answer. If I'm going to assume, unless it's stated that the questions here are for you, Ethan. I'll chime in if I feel particularly compelled. Okay. But otherwise, I think these are mostly directed at you. So.
Well, if you see any specifically, Kim Cunningham, if your son has ADHD, get checked out by a medical professional. However, this is not medical advice from my own. This is just own personal experience. I'd advise not medicating too young if it can be tolerated, and if he can go his whole life without medicating, that'd be great. But get the opinion of a medical professional, not me. I am just a jackass on the internet. Okay. I'm curious about the idea that if it doesn't stand up in court, I don't believe it. So many things have stood up in court and been probably false. Sorry. The courtroom is my own head. So things that need to hold up in here. I trust the courtroom in my head more than I trust the average courtroom, because I'd like to think I am. So when I post these goofy Facebook statuses, I'll sometimes sit there like for 30 minutes, because I've learned one thing is that funny things like really do take perfection and tweaking. So I'm pretty confident in my own ability to decide what I need to believe or not. I would say I am the judge and jury in my own mind. I think I do a very good job of playing devil's advocate on so many things, because I never stop thinking. Like literally I'll wake up at 2 a.m. randomly and all of a sudden like figure something out that I've been working on or I hadn't even thought about in a year. And it's just, my brain never stops thinking about everything.
So when I just want to make sure, I'm kind of trying to interpret this question to mean that when you say doesn't stand up in court, you're not actually trying to talk about a legal standard of evidence. You're talking about like your own individual epistemological, like,
yes, just
certainty. Okay.
Using fallacious reasoning as my guide, the arguments of themselves. Does this argument, is it sound and valid? Does it hold up? So,
okay, you said you're a Matt Dillahunty fan, right? Like this is the one thing. This is my one thing that if you're going to take something away from Matt Dillahunty, please have it be this, okay? Because I've heard him say more than a couple of times, you can have a valid and sound logical argument and still lead to a false conclusion. It all depends on the premises that you're putting into it, right? Yes. So just because you are being logical doesn't mean you're going to get to a correct answer. Just because you're being illogical or irrational doesn't mean you're going to definitely get to a wrong answer. It's kind of weird. It's a step, right? Logic and reasoning is a step, but it's not, in my opinion anyway, it can't be the end all be all, because there's so many ways to come to false conclusions, even going through completely sound and valid logical arguments.
Right.
Anyway,
all right.
Shanna, I love this question, Shanna.
You should be reading them, by the way.
Me?
You read them to me. From
Shanna Marie. Do you believe there is an inherent goodness to life and a universal connection between human beings? I think she means without necessarily believing in a big creator in the sky. Yeah, she clarifies that in the next comment.
So, simply put, I don't know. I genuinely think, humans are and people are inherently good, but I don't know about any type of universal connection with anything else. I am sure there are things we can't explain. I'm sure we'll probably find out 1,000 years from now why we can pick up on each other's energies. But until then, I don't know.
You keep on using that E word. And
what word?
Nothing. This is all for you, and we will address this in a future talk.
But what E word?
Energy. Okay. Now, I personally, this is just me. Okay. I think that the word energy is used in a lot of circumstances to explain something that has not yet been explained. And then we just put this word to it because it seems like it would describe it. Now, there is an actual scientific definition of energy, and I don't think that's the context that was being used, like in Shanna's question, like when you were just using it over there. And my biggest problem with the use of energy is the vagueness of it. Where
I agree.
Like you talk about the energy of being an MC in a crowd of people, right? Now, that's probably not energy in the matter times speed of light squared
No,
sense.
I'm just referring to it colloquially.
Right.
So.
And so, okay, anyway, but that's
Okay.
just me. So from Jocelyn. Jocelyn, I'm not sure how to say that. Please fix my pronunciation if I'm wrong. Do you think atheism gave you compassion because you broke free from a type of Christianity that doesn't really stand up to its own standards?
I mean, no, because I don't think. I mean, every Christian has their own definition on, the rules and what they need to follow. So, no, I just think it gave me the compassion to break free from believing things without evidence.
So here's something interesting. Like I gotta throw my 2 cents into this one.
Sure.
The last one, Dawson's comment. Okay. The interesting thing about if you go like as far back in the Bible as Genesis, right? There's always an other group of people that it's okay not to like, right? Mm-hmm. It's not just Cain; it's all of Cain's descendants.
Right.
Okay. And I forget who it was on Noah's Ark, but there was that one person and all their descendants. No good. It's okay to not like them. The Egyptians, it's okay to not like them. It's okay to dehumanize them a little bit. And this even goes to the New Testament. So there's always that one group that it's okay to dehumanize.
And I don't think any group is okay
to treat them that way because, I've heard a number of apologetics. I'm not even going to begin to get into it. But when you say that compassion, like that compassion is a Christian standard, you must also look at that and say that not having compassion for a certain group of people, if you can identify that as an other group, is a apparently very Christian thing to do also. So I don't know that compassion and Christianity are necessarily like this. But anyway, moving on to Larry's question here.
Let's fly through these quickly.
Okay, so sorry. Okay. Could that have been God? Compassion, love for life, meeting people where they are all biblical concepts.
Sure, it could have been God.
That was quick. How do you know God is not giving you any of these thoughts or feelings?
I don't.
Wow, these are quick. Gravity, magnetism, nothing greater than yourself?
I don't know.
Okay, yeah, I would have said, help me understand what greater means, but that's just me. And I do love hashtag WTP, what the puck, trending.
Oh, here you go. Does Puck believe in God, or is he interviewing you from a similar place? So
we're not really here to talk about my stances or my opinions on this particular version of What the Puck. Jocelyn, I love your questions today. And when you said back there, I need to talk to you, I was like halfway hoping you meant me, because I think I would enjoy to talk to you. Look me up. You can message me afterwards, and Ethan, I'm sure, will set us up on Messenger. Dillahunty claims that a better society can be achieved by following purely selfishness. Why not anger? From an atheist worldview, why not? I'm going to start by saying that I don't know the Dillahunty position on this.
Yeah.
So, like, if we do answer this, it has nothing at all to do with the Dillahunty position.
Thank you for clarifying. From an atheist worldview, why not? Why not what?
Why not anger? Because it sounds like, and I've never heard this before. So if I'm misunderstanding it, just send us a link to where he talks.
Here, let's just have Larry clarify this in the comments.
Okay, yes, Larry, try to clarify that. If you can comment, then that's good. Also curious about the connection between not seeing someone again and the afterlife. We actually went over this already. Okay. That atheism does not necessarily mean not believing in an afterlife. Whoever Cowbell is a big fan of you.
That is very sweet.
Wrestling?
Of you. Thank you.
Wrestling?
You're very kind.
What the puck? Seriously. Okay.
Got to read this one.
Hey, man, you two are doing an excellent job. Wish I could stay longer, but I have to be up at 4 for work. Good luck. Be safe and keep at it. We'll definitely watch more. I hope we get to do more. And a big chunk of this was because of you guys. So thank you very much for the good engagement. Wait, what? Psychic is okay?
So this is what I just wanted.
Not sure. So why are you okay on with the psychics, but for the God proposition, you're more on the side of I don't know.
So Larry is watching, so I should have carefully clarified this. I'm in the same position in the sense of I don't know, and I remain unconvinced that you're doing anything that would be supernatural. But when I say I believe in psychics, I mean they obviously, the person playing a psychic exists. In terms of whether they're actually psychic, I remain unconvinced.
Okay. Let's see where you're coming from.
Did I miss any? I think that's all of them.
Okay. Well, I did. Oh, goodness. I wish we had better clarification on that one. Then.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Jocelyn, you're saying it right.
Jocelyn. Okay, we have another question from where does inherent goodness come from? How do you demonstrate inherent goodness? You see that down there?
Oh, and did you take the Darth Dawkins quiz? No, I haven't. Hi, all. Thanks for tuning in.
I wouldn't even begin to know what the Darth Dawkins quiz even. I know who you're talking about. I think I know who you're talking about. I do not know of any quiz. I'd be happy to see how well I do.
If you have any other questions, quickly drop them in. We're signing off in literally a minute.
Oh,
by the way, I love this,
fun.
Larry.
This is great.
Larry's great. You playing God in the courtroom in your own head. Yes.
Okay.
And,
because that's where you evaluate all anything.
Yes.
It goes in here. And this is something, oh my goodness, Larry, this is something I would love to talk to you about. And I hope that one day we get a chance to. Okay.
Yes. I hope you two do. You two. I would love to see a talk between you two. Anyways, so real quick, tomorrow I am hosting free trivia, so everyone can tune in to the live stream. If you're interested in being a contestant, send me a message. It's cool. You'll come on the stream. You'll get the chance at 3 questions. So yeah, if you're interested, come on the show, or you can compete in the comments. It's at 7 p.m. Central Daylight Time tomorrow on my channel and on YouTube. And then Friday is a dating game. So calling any other LGBTQIA+ members, reach out because we'll put you on. It's essentially we talk about dating and what it's like. If you're interested, there's an episode I did last Friday. There's no other questions, so I guess Puck, do you have any other questions for me before we sign off?
This was a lot of fun.
It was.
And there's like 40 different directions where we could take What the Puck, including not just necessarily with you, even though there's like 4 episodes at least with you. Okay, like we can dig, and I think it's great because you're actually willing to. But just like I see Jocelyn over there, I see Shanna over there, I see Larry over there. So many great people that we could definitely What the Puck.
And I'd love to see them all on.
The people in chat, because you and I know a lot of other people.
I would love to see a What the Puck with you and Larry.
All right,
just saying.
Well, so that's it for me. This was a blast.
Yes,
thank you guys very much, and you guys get the fingerest of hearts because this was such an awesome show.
And thanks for watching. The simple fact that people watched us talk for an hour, that's pretty cool. So thanks, everyone. Have a safe evening and stay healthy.